Hi there. So this is a little video that I'm making today because there's been some pretty amazing updates as far as my own process of healing my own pain body. And so this is part of the process of doing these little videos. So the other night we were doing a talk on our book Shadow Tech, and at the very same moment that we were talking about these very subjects of the nature behind evil and pain bodies and the victim-victor cycle, and you can read all about that in our book shadowtechbook.com, which is free. At the very moment we started, there had been a murder, and they chased the guy right down the street to where we were, and he had murdered his girlfriend, and then he was in his car, and they basically told everyone on the block, everyone that we couldn't leave, and there was a standoff for 20 hours with this guy who murdered his girlfriend, and they couldn't get him to surrender, and they didn't want to kill him, so they just were negotiating for 20 hours. So we had to stay overnight, and we couldn't leave until the next afternoon. Now, we were just talking, we call this living in the movie, synchronicities in your life that represent what you're doing internally and externally. And this brought up a lot for me because this guy murdered his girlfriend, and he was basically taken over, or has been for probably some time, by what we call a shadow warrior, or a autonomous complex that becomes alive, that takes people over. And it's destructive energy systems that feed on trauma in your psyche, like a ball of pain, a ball of trauma, right? Ball of trauma that gets stored there. Now, there's two sides of this. There's a victor, there's the aggressor side that gets taken over and then ends up killing somebody or getting in a fight. It doesn't have to be killing somebody. And then there's the other side, which many women have, including myself, which is the victim side, which is the other side of the coin. And a lot of times we stay in that victim state, and that energy is also a pain body. It also keeps a cycle of abuse going. This is why so many women who are in destructive relationships stay in the relationships and keep going back. They say, why are you going back to that guy who's hurting you? Why are you allowing yourself to stay in that? And it's because there's a part of the woman, or the part of that partner who's the victim, that actually is also getting fed off of this cycle of violence, or this cycle of destruction, right? Now, I've created this in my life over and over and over again. It was passed on to me by my mother, by my grandmother, by the family tree that is passed on in my DNA itself. And this actually becomes a wound, okay? It becomes a wound, and it actually becomes alive. And it's taken me and put me into relationships and situations that are extremely dangerous and painful, and I was in domestic violent situations where I was beaten and I had to get restraining orders and I was raped and all these things. Now, that could make me very angry and just hold on to all that pain. And it also keeps me from fully connecting with my potential, my genius in this world, because every time that I feel really good, this cycle, this pain body will actually use my relationships and get something in my outer world to make me feel bad again, right? Doesn't have to be the extreme of a domestic violence situation, which I've been in, but it could be as little as your partner telling you that you look bad today, or that picture you took looks terrible, or you smell bad, or you don't sound good, or whatever it is that triggers that part of you that brings up that pain over and over again. So the question is, how do you heal this? What a lot of women do is they actually stay in the cycle and they stay in blame, and they keep creating these cycles in their lives over and over and over again. We are holding a pain of thousands of years of women being dishonored and raped and murdered and not being allowed to reach our full potential, not allowed for our love and the essence of who we are to be out in the world. So now a lot of women flip and they get angry, and they just stay away from men completely, or they shut themselves down, or they get eating disorders, or there's multiple things that we do as women to keep the cycle going and never actually heal the wound. So this is what I have been working on, is actually healing the wound itself. And I can tell you that it's extremely challenging, because you have to stop the cycle. You have to stop blaming. You have to stop projecting. You have to actually start to become aware of when this cycle is going to start. And you have to do emotional processing, deep work on the wound itself to shrink it. And that means actually allowing the trauma, allowing the grief of all those thousands of years, and then in your own life, whatever it is from your childhood of not being honored and respected, or not being fully loved by your parents, you have to allow your own psyche to actually process all that grief, right? So it's challenging, but it is possible. I've been working on it. It's a work in progress, right? This is not something that happens overnight. It starts to shrink, right? It starts to shrink. The pain starts to shrink, and you become aware of it when it starts to operate, so you can actually start the process of your own healing. So that's just what I wanted to talk to today. I'm getting massive amounts of funny comments here, but I'm only going to talk about deeper subjects here. I'm not here to just talk to you about shallow subjects. No, that's not why I'm in the world. I'm in the world to sing, and you can check that out on our project, the O1 Experience, which will be out in May. And that's the light, well, the subject matter is still the same, but it's maybe a little bit easier to take than the actual talking about these subjects. So look for that, onexperience.com. And then also shadowtechbook.com is the book that we write of our ongoing investigation into the nature of evil and how this cycle of destruction continues in our own psyche, in our own life, and in our culture. And then also shadowtechtheory.com, and then we do weekly podcasts at livinginthemovie.com. Okay, so have a great day, and start watching your own cycles if you can. Start asking yourself the question of why you keep creating the same scenarios, the same fights, the same relationships, the same problems in your life over and over again. Okay, that's it for now. Bye.